Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of Not the Girl Next Door. I'm your host, Meg Reynolds, and we are back with a guest we have not seen in a good minute. And if you remember this title and you've been around the podcast, the F word we're referring to is not fuck, unfortunately. It is friendship. Not today. It's friendship. I have with me one of my best friends, Hailey Oliveri, and she's back because last year for both of us was like the hardest year of our lives.
The biggest shit show.
And it really tested our friendship, and it really tested Hailey as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
I have some really incredible news. She's in therapy.
I am in therapy after a long, long time saying I did not need therapy. I did, in fact, need some therapy and will continue to need therapy.
I think I'll just kind of give her the floor for a quick second to reintroduce herself.
Well, hi, I'm Hailey. I feel like last time we did this was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was season 2.
Yeah, this was 2 years ago. And I feel like a lot has changed. I think Meg and I both went through the ringer last year. 2024 was a rough year.
The understatement of the century.
we both got laid off. I got laid off early in February, spent 7 months laid off. And, as soon as I got a job, my dog passed away and shit started hitting the fan with some friends. And it was one of those things where I was like, you know what? Maybe I need to figure out why I'm so unhappy and why I'm so miserable and why I'm not being the best version of myself. And on a phone call with Meg one day, she was like, I'm going to be real with you. You need to change your behavior now and get your shit together, because if you don't, you're going to lose like the few people you genuinely have left. And that was the exact wake-up call I needed. And she was kind of like the last push to be like, okay, I'm going to go to therapy. And I didn't really know where to start. I kind of was just like, you know what? I'm just going to start with my insurance and see what my insurance covers. And I got really, really lucky. I went to literally just looked for like a girl who was in her like probably early to mid 30s, somebody who was similar in age and would like understand, and got really lucky. I found a therapist who has been so incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And like not at all. Like I feel like therapy has such, at least in my mind, it had such a misconception.
It did, which is really funny because you were always so supportive of me in my therapy journey and of everybody else in your therapy journey. And your mom is a therapist. But that was always the funny thing to me too, is like you were for yourself, like so in denial for a long time that you needed therapy.
But I think in my mindset, and I feel like this is probably a lot of people think this way. In my mind, I was like, okay, I've never experienced any like real trauma. Like I had like a fairly like normal, stable childhood. Like even like as an adult, like I didn't go through anything like crazy. And I was like, well, what do I need therapy for? Like, what am I going to go to therapy and talk about? Like how my parents have been happily married for 30 something years. Like, what am I going to talk about? And then I realized, especially going to therapy now. So like if anybody else has this misconception or like this idea that like you need to have gone through some insane trauma to go to therapy, like we literally just talk about like how to enjoy me more and like enjoy my time by myself more and how to find self-love that I didn't realize I didn't really have.
Yeah,
and, like,
you did.
I had always thought like I love myself. I'm so confident. And like that was not the case. And like going to therapy made me realize that. So it doesn't mean you have to have experienced like these horrible things in life. It just means that like everybody has room for growth no matter where you're at in life, and everybody can be better. And I think going to therapy shows you the tools on how to improve yourself and your mental health and things like that.
For sure. And like, I will never forget you calling me, obviously dealing with like other friends. And you were like, I could see you wanted to, for once, understand. And I mean, I told you this, I was like, I was ready to write our friendship off and just accept the fact of, you know what, I think we're going in different directions. And for the first time in our friendship, I mean, we know this, I'm a people pleaser and that's my own issue. But I think for the first time in our friendship, I was like, okay, I'm going to call her on her shit, because I had never spoken up about the things that bothered me and like the times my feelings were hurt. And like, I think a friendship is not really a friendship until you've had it tested in that way. Like
any relationship.
Just like any relationship.
Yeah.
Like my longest lasting friendships are the friendships where like I've fought with them like they're my own sisters. Like I don't have siblings, but like my friends that have stood the test of time, like we have fought. And like for people that sit there and say, oh, my best friend and I have never had a fight, like I almost don't think that can be your best friend until you've had a fight with them and you guys see how you treat each other after and like how you react after. Because for some reason, when it comes to female friendships, like we will give a guy a million chances and like let them disrespect us time and time again. But then when your girlfriend fucks up once, you write her off.
Yeah.
And granted, I think a lot of the times in friendships, we don't take accountability. I mean, any relationship in general, I think people have a hard time taking accountability. And you kind of know this too. Like, I think, you know, me finally saying to you, like, you're fucking up your friendships. Yeah. And here's all the ways that like you've hurt me that I've never said because I didn't feel like I could. The fact that you sat and actually listened, did not get defensive, like that was when I was like, okay, you know what, I need to be her friend still. Like, yeah. Because what I always said about you was, and all the times you had said me, I would literally sit there and say, but the big but is, but she still always has my back. Yeah. Like I never felt like, especially when it came to guys and things like that, like I never felt like you were that kind of friend. And so it was always something where I was just like, I don't know why, but I would always make the excuses. You were like a man to me.
Yeah. Oh my God. I do be getting that.
Okay, masculine. I fucking hate that shit. You know, I hate that shit.
I know.
But so talk to me about like, you've been in therapy for through 6 months. How long?
I started in November. So I've been in for 4 months now.
For 4 months now. So what have you learned in therapy so far? And like, let's start there.
I think that last year, especially, I had a really hard time looking at how other people felt or how my actions, behavior, words affected other people. And I think a lot of it had to do with how I felt about myself. And like, I, especially last year, was not in a place to be a good friend to anybody. I was not even being good to myself. Like I was treating myself horrendously. So it's hard to be able to treat other people well if you can't even treat yourself well. And I think that, you know, a lot of it was having to learn how to be happy with myself first. And I think that's like with any relationship in general. Like if you think about like romantic relationships, you are not going to be happy in a romantic relationship until you are 100% happy with yourself. And
for sure.
Yourself.
I mean, that's one of the biggest things I Peach. I do leg day tomorrow. Maybe that's one thing. No, but that's one of the biggest things I preach on the podcast, and where this, I mean, you've been around since the beginning, like where this whole journey started was me realizing I was not going to find love until I learned to love myself.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that goes back to friendships too, is like, if you have nothing to give yourself, you have nothing to give other people. And so I think it was the biggest thing I've learned the last 4 months is that like, not everything is about me. And like, I can't live life with the mindset of, well, this is what's going on in my life and this is more important, because other people's lives are still more important.
Right.
You know? So I think you have to have love to love other people. Like you have to have love for yourself to love other people. But like, it's also not everybody else's problem when shit is going on in your life. Like it was literally nobody's fault I got laid off. It was nobody's fault my dog died. You know, so for me to be a shit human to other people because of the things that were happening in my life that were completely irrelevant to my relationships, that wasn't cool.
Yeah.
And like, I recognize that. And, you know, I'm by all means still a work in progress.
But, I mean, we all are.
But there's been for sure a significant change.
Oh, I mean, I've seen it.
Yeah.
I think it shows that obviously, especially in our friendship, like there's so much that has changed. And how do you think therapy has also impacted you in dating? Because obviously a big piece of your journey, like when you and I first met, you were the queen of casual. Like you really, really were. Not that that's a bad thing, but I think you for a long time were using it as a confidence builder, and you were finding that validation in men. And it's so funny to me because you would always give me such good advice and like tell me and you would never take it on your own. No. And that was honestly one of my biggest gripes with you. I was like, if I did the same exact shit, you would be ripping me a new asshole.
Yes, and I would not be nice about it.
And you would not be nice about it.
Nope. Nope. I mean, the one thing my therapist, which I'm about to be 30, so this is ridiculous that it took me this long to get here.
But I don't think it is, because look at just how our generation is in general. Like,
it's true.
True. We've got balding 34-year-olds who are liar pants for hires, and we'll get there in a minute.
Yeah. My therapist was like, what are your non-negotiables in dating? And I was like, he's got to be 6'5", 250, tattoos. Those are non-negotiables, right? My therapist was like, no. And that was the first time I had ever been like, where are my standards? Like, the standards are out the fucking window. They don't exist. And
that's like my biggest gripe with you and Dale.
Yeah,
you both were blinded by the tattoos.
The tattoos. You give me a man that is 3 times my body weight, got 6 foot something, and some tattoos. Sign me up, baby.
They can.
I mean, I still really do like that. Those are still very high on my priority list. However, it forced me to. I don't want to say look at men like they're more than pieces of meat, but genuinely so look at men like they're more than pieces of meat. Like, okay, like what do I need from a partner that's going to make me happy, that's going to make me feel safe? And I was like, okay, communication is huge. You know, I really, really like somebody who's career oriented. I'm, so torn on kids, somebody who's, I'm okay if we do have them, I'm okay if we don't. And it's like, these are things that I had never once thought about before this, because I was so blinded by physical appearance. Or even like, not even that. Sometimes I let physical appearance go out the window because of a job title or a status, or like, if I saw he was on an NFL roster or he was a musician, sometimes I was like, you know what? I can give in for this one. And now it's funny because like, I don't know that I would do that again. If it was somebody I genuinely liked, that's one thing. But I don't think I would go for a man simply because of his status or his title or his job or whatever it was now. I think if it was somebody who came to me and was like, hey, this is my career, I love what I do, this is my goals in life, okay, great. But I don't want you just because you play on an NFL team.
Why do you think for the long, like, obviously we know how you got here, but like, why do you think that's what you went for? I know I have my thoughts, but
I mean, part of me, the last real relationship I was in was college. I have not had a boyfriend since college, and I've been out for almost 8 years. And part of me is like, I loved the lifestyle I was living, dating a college athlete, and was like, I kind of want that. It's never been about the money. That's never been my thing. It's never been about the money. I think a lot of it is how other people see me. And I think, I've always liked being with a significant other that people look at and they're like, damn. And not even like in a physical appearance way, but like, damn, how did she pull him?
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge reason is I've never wanted people to look at my significant other and be like, that's who she ended up with. And, in the last situation I was in, this is the first time I've ever been with somebody where I was like, I am really proud of who this person is. And I want I want to be with this person because of who he is, not because of his job title, not because of his physical appearance, but because of the person the person I thought he was on the inside. I was like, I would have ride or died into a war for this man because of that. So, I mean, while it didn't end in the best way, I went into it with the right mindset.
No, you did. And formal apologies for saying I think he could be the one.
Oh my God. This girl.
Okay.
Looked me dead in the eye and said, I think he might be the one. And I was like, what? Excuse me?
In my defense, one, I have never seen you open up and be so vulnerable with a man.
Yeah.
I have never seen a man who was so reciprocal and validated you. Still a liar. I cried. I don't know if I told you this. Like, I cried.
Oh my God.
I cried. Yeah.
No.
Yes.
You didn't tell me this.
I cried for you. Oh my God. I was heartbroken for you. No, because here's the thing. And like,
that is friendship on a whole new level.
No, literally, I shit you not.
Because I'm not going to lie, I haven't even cried. Since all this hit the fan, I have not shed a single tear.
Okay, but we know I'm way more emotional than you are. As it is, I'm literally wearing sweatpants that say 1-800-BOYS-LIE for the occasion.
They do.
I cried because it just like, you've seen me cry far too many tears over men who didn't deserve it, unfortunately. Yes. And I was so proud of how far you've come, because literally you handled everything. Like, in this situation, you weren't anxious, you weren't avoidant, like, you truly broke your own walls down. And like, literally when all this happened, I was like, I swear to God, if he just undid all the hard work she has done, like, I'm going to rip him limb from limb.
But at the same time,
and also he was my friend too.
Yes.
That's what sucks, is I've known him for years, and like, he supported me when I was going through everything with my ex. Over the years, I would tell him the things that he said and did, and he was just like, I just don't understand how like guys can do that to girls. Turn around and did the same exact fucking shit. So clearly you do understand, because you fucking did it. And like, that I think was also heartbreaking. It wasn't just like you lost your guy. It was like, I lost a friend too. And like, a lot of us lost a friend. And like, he still scurries away if I see him at the gym.
As he should. Like, you talked about the fact that I wasn't anxious or I wasn't avoidant. I think every part of me wanted to be, but between going to therapy and talking with my therapist and having you, like, I wholeheartedly avoided every single avoidant tendency that I would have. Because the amount of times I called you and was like, I'm ready to just dip.
And I was like, you're literally being psychotic.
Exactly. Like, you talked me off so many ledges, but that was so helpful because like, I learned a lot of lessons. And, you know, I learned, you know, people are manipulative. People are very manipulative. And this is not going to like undo anything I've learned or anything. Because at the end of the day, and like I said this in the beginning, I said, when this one ends, this one's going to hurt, but it's going to have taught me so much about myself and what I want in a future partner, because these are not things that I've ever thought about or dealt with before. So the fact that I can now look at, you know, that relationship, and there is a lot of good I can pull from it. Yeah. Whether the good was in my mind or the truth, I don't know.
Well, it was never in your mind as much as he's trying to make you think it was. It was not.
I mean, there's a lot I'm taking out of that relationship and moving forward with. Am I going to be really, really hesitant to trust somebody again? Yeah. I mean, you know, I don't think I necessarily had trust issues before. I think I took people at face value. What you told me was the truth, and that was it.
You know, that they're just not fucking other girls.
Apparently multiple, but...
Or that you're the only one they're buying flowers
for. Yeah. Finding out that this man told me he was spending Valentine's Day with his child, only to find out that he was spending Valentine's Day with the girl he was cheating on me with, and bought us the same flowers.
Not only did he buy them the same flowers, I 100% believe he split the bouquet in half.
I don't even know.
They were not wrapped in the plastic when he gave them to you.
No, this man...
100, and they were both small bouquets, because she posted the bouquet. Yeah. 100% he split the fucking bouquet. That is diabolical.
He had told me that he was spending Valentine's Day with his child, and I was home. It was like maybe like 12:31 in the afternoon on Valentine's Day, and he texted me and he was like, "Are you home?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I'm at the door." And he showed up with flowers, and the one thing that was odd was there was no plastic on them.
That's what I'm saying, is I'm telling you.
They were just wrapped in rubber bands. And I did not think anything of it at the time, because I was like, he is going out of his way, putting in the effort to do this for me. So I don't know. They could have been like weeds from the side of the road that he picked 2 minutes before. Like, it was the effort that made me happy. It wasn't exactly what it was. You know, obviously wasn't in Kentucky with his son, because the next morning, while he was allegedly at his son's game, he was spotted by one of our friends.
At the dog park.
Yeah, at the dog park. I somehow believed everything I was being told. The hardest part about all of this is, once I put 2 and 2 together, I made the decision to not go to him. Well, technically I did. I had gone to him first because I had run into them. I had found out there was another girl because I had run into them at the gym. And him and I, while we were together, had done this like hoodie swap thing. So he would wear a hoodie for a few days. It would smell like him. I would take it, give him back the hoodie I had. And that went on for like a while. So I knew this man's wardrobe pretty well. And I see this girl at the gym in his hoodie. And that was the first red flag. The second was we have a like private area to our gym and he never works out in that area. He took this girl and went right over to the private area.
Yeah.
And I immediately texted him and he was like, she's just a friend.
It wasn't even like that. He was saying, he was literally
really defensive.
It was really defensive. He's never been defensive with you.
No, never. So I knew something was up. So all I said was, we need to talk later. And he said he was going to his friends to work on his bike, which in hindsight, that was the excuse I think he gave me every time he was hanging out with this girl, because I was always like, great, have fun. Text me when you're home. So he said he was going to his friends to work on his bike. And I'm a girl. I look at things. So when he introduced us, obviously I went and looked at her Instagram, saw her stories that she'd been posting at his apartment like 2 days in a row. And I was like, okay. And at this time I was being told that we were working on our relationship, and we had probably 8 hours worth of conversations, like 3 or 4 days before this, talking about what we needed from each other, what we needed to make sure that we stayed in a healthy relationship, and how we wanted to proceed with each other and what a future together looked like. Like we were having all these conversations the week before I ran into him. And ladies, this is my biggest saving grace right now. I went into the conversation with him. He texted me that he was home from his friends, which I knew he wasn't. The girl was at his apartment. He was home from his friends, and he was like, okay, we can talk. And I said, okay, I'll come over there. And I was panicking, absolutely losing my mind. So I like mass called on a group FaceTime a bunch of my friends, including Meg. And they were like, no, leave us on.
I literally said to her, I was like, you cannot go down there and not keep us on the line. I was like, we will mute ourselves. One, because I thought it would be funny. It was fucking hilarious. Like
I wish I could put the entire group chat of all their responses out there, but I went down there and I was not only was I livid, I was also so nervous because I was like, oh my God, I did feel bad. Initially, I felt bad because I felt like it was a violation of his privacy. In hindsight, I am so glad I did this, because he's putting one story out there of what happened. And then I have my story, and people are like, well, it's his side versus her side. No, it's the reality of what happened versus the lies that he wants people to think happened. And now I can say that because I had multiple people listening to the entire conversation. Like my girlfriends really came together and said, we are going to sit here on a silent FaceTime and listen to you and this man have a 2-hour long conversation. And they listened to every lie, every single piece of bullshit that this man fed me.
And like, too, there were certain points in the call, which like, again, is it probably ethically and morally right to do this? No. However, like, I am so glad we did. When you're in a toxic relationship like that, like you guys didn't seem toxic, but like when you're going through like a toxic situation where you're being gaslit and manipulated like that, like it is so easy to question your reality. And I could hear at certain points in the conversation, like you genuinely were starting to doubt yourself and genuinely starting to doubt what was real and what wasn't. Yeah. And like we were sitting there in the group chat, like, bitch, like
I came back to like 100
like literally we were reacting because there were so many lies and just like not even like kind of half truths, just straight up lying. Yeah. And he was so also hearing how cold he was towards you, but then still had the nerve to be like making it your fault that things were ending. Like there was zero.
Don't make a decision right now. Don't make a decision based on emotion. And
there was zero accountability. And the funny none to this day, none. Like he will maintain that he did not cheat.
No. And the best part is, you know, he was the one who originally brought up not sleeping with other people and being exclusive. And he was the one who said, if you want to cheat on me, like go, like I'm gone. And so we, for probably right before Christmas is when we decided to be like just the two of us exclusive. From then up until, you know, I was slapped in the face with this in February, I genuinely thought we were exclusive because of the boundaries he put in place. And when I had brought up, what I had felt I had seen when I saw him with another girl, it was, she's just a friend. I met her at like going to shows. Like we just go to shows together, and like she really just wanted to try the gym. So I let her try the gym with me. And I was like, okay, so why was she in your sweatshirt? Like, why is a girl showing up to the gym with you in your hoodie? Like, I'm not stupid. I was not born yesterday. And he was like, well, she got in my car and that was all that was in my car. And I'm like, she was in shorts. It was 30 degrees. This girl did not show up in shorts and a tank top and then get in your car and be like, oh, I need a hoodie. No, that's not what happened. And like, I was not born yesterday. And like, genuinely, this man was like, sleep on it. I'm going to give you some space. Like, talk to your therapist, like figure out what you need to figure out. And later that night, we texted some more, and we had like maybe 2 hours worth of conversation more. And he basically had said, like, I'm going through a lot mentally, which is what he had kept saying. I'm going through a lot mentally. And I was supporting him through that. I was supporting him through literally everything. Whatever this man wanted out of life, I was like, hell yeah, I'm in. Like, let's go. So when he said, I'm really struggling with my mental health, especially somebody now being in therapy, I understood that on a whole new level. Mm-hmm. And I was like, whatever space you need, whatever time you need, like, I wholeheartedly support you. And so he had said in our like parting conversation, whatever, I'm really going to take this time to figure out my own mental health and work on the things I need to work through. And he said, now that you and I are done, there's going to be no girls. He said, there's going to be no girls. And he said, and if when I figure this out, you're still single, let's try this again. And so what it feels like is he spent the entire month of February cheating on me, telling me that I was the only one. And the signs, honestly, in hindsight, the signs were there. Like, I kept a bunch of toiletries and stuff at his house. Like, all my stuff was in his shower. And I went over one day and my shower stuff was moved into a drawer. And I said, like, I noticed it. And he was like, oh, I cleaned my bathroom. And so I didn't think anything of it.
Right.
But all the times that he was MIA doing whatever he had an excuse for, I realized it's because he was lying about another girl, but still swore up and down, like, he wasn't cheating. There was nobody else. And like, I even remember we went to our Galentine's dinner, and I went to his place after, and he had no idea I was even at a Galentine's dinner. I just told him I was out to dinner, and I went over, and he was like, I didn't even have to question who you were out to dinner with. He said, because I know you're not cheating. And like, and it's crazy because this was literally Valentine's Day and he was the one cheating. So I think the trust issues moving forward are going to be there. Hard. They're going to be hard.
Well, especially because you found out he was cheating the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, his friends, I use the term loosely, his friends kind of ratted him out. One person was like, I had no idea you guys were together, because I kept it private. He was not a secret. I was so proud to be with him, and I like talked about him 24/7. Like, I adored him, but I kept it very private from like the general population. And one of his friends was like, I had no idea you guys were together, because there was girls that whole time. And then somebody else was like, I'm not going to lie, I was covering for him. He was leaving with this girl and going home with this girl. And I knew when I was covering for him. So like, people threw him under the bus. Yeah. And it just sucks that like, this was somebody who came to me and was so intent on like, I swear, like swore up and down, like it was just me. And like, I was essentially living with him. I was there 4 nights a week. Yeah. I never came home. We were always together. We had started to like get integrated with each other's friends. He had built a relationship with my family. So I was like, I didn't think he could be cheating, because we were always together. And if we weren't together, we were on 3-hour FaceTimes. We were on the phone. Like, I called him at every little thing, and I was like, oh my God, I have to tell you this. Right. So it's like, I don't even know how he had the time for this until all the shit hit the fan, first week of February. And I thought it was just his mental health, him dealing with his family, and that's not the case. He used his mental health as an excuse to go MIA. He used his son as an excuse to not be present. And again, I took him at face value, and that is the last time I do that. Last time.
I think the worst, like, I remember you were saying like, do I message her? And I was just like, not yet, until we have hard proof, because you could be wrong. Yeah. Less than a week later, she hard launched him.
Yeah. It's crazy, because psychotic. I looked at her Instagram, it came up on my explore page and I was like, let me go look at this. And I saw the pictures and I was like, one thing about me is even if I am being like a really shitty friend, I don't think I will ever choose a man over a girl. I will be a girl's girl through and through. And no part of me ever wanted to make this girl feel bad. And like, I went to her and I said, I am so sorry for this. And like, neither you or I deserve this, because nobody does. I don't care how shitty of a girl you are. You do not deserve that. Yeah. So, and it, like, I thought about it. And if it was me, I would want to know so that I could make a decision on my own. And I don't know what ended up happening with them. I don't know, you know, if she chose to stay. But all I can say is the behavior is not changing. I am now finding out all the girls' DMs he is still in, all the girls that he is constantly DMing. That's not changing. And I know that. And I've seen firsthand and heard firsthand, you know, how blind I was to everything. And like, I do genuinely hope that maybe one day, maybe when he hits 40, maybe once all his hair is gone, who the fuck knows, maybe he'll change. But until then, he ain't getting any better. And it's crazy because when Meg was friends with him, this was maybe 2022,
yeah, this is like no, I think it was like 2022.
Meg had brought him up and I had seen he was posted in one of the Are We Dating the Same Guy groups. And the post was horrific.
It was bad. It was really bad.
And when him and I had started seeing each other, granted, like the timeline, we started hanging out in August as friends.
That's what I'm saying. This was like a long time in the
hard.
Yeah.
I did not touch him until November. And even then it was like casual, just friends. And he was the one, like, we both made it clear, like, just friends. We both then got to the point where it was like, we can't just be friends. We have feelings for each other. We want to be with each other. And like, I was so hesitant because of all the things I had read about him. And when we first started hanging out, I said, it's very apparent you are not the same human anymore.
I mean,
I wholeheartedly take that back. That motherfucker did not change.
He just got sneakier.
This man just learned how to be less manipulative outwardly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't want to sit here and bash him, because at the end of the day, like, if he came to me and said, I owe you an apology, and had a full conversation with me, I would be willing to listen.
Yeah.
I would probably forgive him, because I just don't care enough to stay this angry, because I genuinely have never felt this level of anger in my life. And I think part of it is the fact that I was stupid enough to believe everything he was saying.
The thing is, you weren't stupid. Like, I remember there were so many times that you would come to me and be like, here's what I'm feeling, here's what he said. And I'm like, every time I would say to you, he has not given you a reason not to trust him. And like, he is here, even at the times when which now we know
were lies and I was right.
And you were right. But like, he always validated you. He always heard you out and always had a conversation. Like, there was no reason to doubt him, like, truly. Yeah. And even the times when you fully like would flip the fuck out because you were just spiraling. Yeah. So don't ever call yourself stupid, because like, it wasn't like I wouldn't have not let you stay in that if I thought you were being dumb. Yeah. And well, thank God we phoned a friend one night too. We got a man's perspective. So shout out Tyler.
Yeah. Shout out Tyler.
Shout out Tyler. But even Tyler was like, no, like,
everybody was like, this man adores you.
Like, what the fuck?
And like, I genuinely thought so. I was so happy.
But I think now you understand why I still talk about and stuff so much, because there is, even though it's been so long, gaslighting and manipulation like that really does fuck with you. And it makes you question your reality to the point where, like, I'm not still angry with him. I don't still have feelings for him. Yeah. I'm really nothing towards him. It just is crazy to me that, one, I put up with that behavior for so long, because he was just outwardly, you didn't even know me then, but like, I have a feeling if you did, you would have been like, what are you doing?
Who are you? Yeah.
What is wrong? Like, what is wrong? But two, like, when I share the stories of what happened, it just reminds, like, people's reactions, like, it just reminds me is I'm not crazy. Yeah. And like, I'm not, because being told constantly, you're crazy, you're overreacting, you're being dramatic, like, you're imagining things, like, you do genuinely begin to start questioning reality. And like, that type of emotional manipulation and just frankly emotional abuse will fuck with you for years to come.
100%.
And like, 100%. Honestly, thank God, like, this happened when it did.
Thank God this happened. And thank God that I had friends who sat on the phone and listened to the entire conversation, because these are the people who are keeping me sane. Like, these are the people who are like, we heard it firsthand. We saw everything firsthand. Like,
the switch up was crazy. Like, seeing how you guys were acting together to that, I was just like, what?
Because he was caught.
He was caught.
Terrified. And instead of sitting there and admitting he was caught and terrified, he was like, I'm so scared where our relationship has gotten. Like, I don't know how to move forward because I'm scared. I'm scared of being vulnerable. I'm scared of getting hurt, and bull fucking shit.
Boo hoo, cry me a river. Like,
no, literally.
Have you watched any of Temptation Island? I haven't watched any of it. I don't have Netflix, but like, I keep seeing the clips on my TikTok. These men, I literally have gotten to a point where I'm like, I'm about to throw my phone across the freaking room, because these men on this show are literally bawling their eyes out that they want to marry this girl, or and then they're fucking another bitch in the other room, and they're like, it took me doing that to realize how much I love you. These little whiny crybabies on this show, it is like the epitome of what is wrong with men these days. Yeah. Like, these men are literally sitting here. Some of them are like, yeah, I know, I just have to apologize and she'll take me back. That is sociopathic behavior.
Like, also, as women, we need to learn an apology. You can listen to an apology. You can forgive. It does not mean you go back to these men.
No.
Do not go back. No. Listen, hear them out for your own sanity, and then get the fuck out of there.
No, truly. And like, I said this on the podcast before, and people kind of roasted me for it, where I was like, you don't, like, why are you apologizing, or why are you forgiving people who haven't apologized? That's what I said. And people in the comments were like, because forgiveness is for you. I don't think you need to necessarily forgive to move on. Like, I don't think you should be saying, like, with this situation, I don't think you should be forgiving him because he hasn't apologized and in his mind he didn't do anything wrong. Does not mean you need to stay angry. Does not mean you can't move on. You absolutely, the anger will fade and you'll go through the stages of grief and you will move on. Yeah. But like, you can move on and heal your anger and pain without forgiving that person. Because I think in order to offer somebody forgiveness, you should be seeing change in them. Maybe this is a toxic thought of mine. I'll talk to my therapist about it and get her input. But I think when it comes to forgiveness, people then will use it to make excuses. And that's where forgiveness goes wrong. 100%. Like, they'll sit there and explain, like, prime example is him. It's like, oh, well, he's got some family shit. Oh, he's struggling with his mental health. And like, we use other people's traumas to explain away their bad behavior and then forgive them for that bad behavior when they don't even think they've done anything wrong and they can't take accountability for their actions. So that's what I mean when I say, like, why are we forgiving people who aren't even saying sorry?
Yeah. And I mean, like, don't get me wrong. There is like a big part of me that feels bad for him. And like, it's not like a pity thing, but like,
no, I pity him.
Bad.
I pity that man. I'm sorry.
I feel bad that this man, and I think he did work so hard to keep me around, because I think he found something that he was like, this is going to be fun right now. I want to explore it, but I don't want to lose her down the line. And I think that, imagine being in that mindset where like you found something that could potentially make you very happy for a long time. And you're so unhappy with yourself that you're going to sabotage that because you just can't get your own shit together, especially in your mid-30s. Like, I do feel bad that he is like, I mean, the fact that he has lied to every single person in his life, you know, the amount of people that have probably been told a very, very different story about what's happened between him and I.
I mean, his friend said that to our friend, like, you're only getting one side of the story. What side of the story are you getting?
Yeah, because it's not the phone call that you guys heard.
No,
so it's one of those things, like, at the end of the day, like, I'm going to walk away from this. And like, I am walking away from this. Like, I haven't lost. Yeah. I've only gained here. The only thing I lost was him, which at first, genuinely, I would have thought was a loss. And like, now, like, good fucking riddance. Yeah. Because like, it taught me so much about myself, and I've learned so much and gotten so much. And like, and I even said this to you the other day, I think that maybe it's a mix of like healing my friendships, healing myself, learning from this relationship, but I feel more myself now than I have in like ever. Like, I feel more comfortable in who I am. And I think it's because I'm learning so much about myself, and like, I'm not going to give him credit, but he did push me in certain directions. And I do appreciate those pushes because it's forcing me to be the person I am now. And I really do like the person I have been and the person I'm continuing to become.
I mean, I think that was something I was always worried about for you was, you know, from the start of our friendship. And like, obviously when I first met you, I was not in a great place mentally. And now I am where I am. And for a long time, I remember I tried to have that conversation with you. And like, I don't think you actually like yourself. And like,
I didn't want to hear it.
You didn't want to hear it. And I literally was watching you go down a path that I was genuinely so worried for you.
Yeah.
Because, it was like, you know, what could I do? It was like it was like a train wreck. I couldn't look away. No offense. But I think unfortunately as women, we have to get to that rock bottom. And not even just as women, I think people in general, like when you don't know yourself, like you have to hit rock bottom in order to have some sort of wake up call. Like you have to go through some sort of traumatic relationship or trauma to have that wake up call, because otherwise, like if you are not tested as a human being, you are never going to push yourself to know yourself. Yeah. Like I said this to you when, I think while you were still with him, I was like talking about what I want for my future. I was like, I don't think I could date somebody who's never been through anything. Like I can't date somebody who's never, I don't need you to like have PTSD and be so traumatized, but like, I can't date somebody who's never experienced true adversity because I have. Yeah. And I think you're finally understanding like why I say that, because you've said it yourself. You're like, I've never had childhood trauma or anything like that. And like, you've always been there for me with my shit and like always supported me. But I think now that you've been through this, it's like, you truly understand what I mean when I say like, you can be there for somebody, but you can't truly empathize and understand.
Yeah. Until you've gone through it. And I think that, you know, I'm so grateful for the people in my life right now. And like, I genuinely, this is probably the first time ever that I've looked at the people in my life and said, I have a really close-knit group of friends, and not like, wow, look at all of my friends. Yeah. Because I think I loved for the longest time just having big groups of friends and having so many people in my life.
It was like the optics of it. Yeah. Well, just like with the guys in the status thing, like it was the optics of having that big friend group.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like I kind of did isolate myself from people most of last year. I isolated myself from almost everybody. And that wasn't because of anybody else. That was because of me. But in isolating myself, it really showed me like, who gives a shit about me? And who is like, I just want to have fun with you. And like, that's okay to have those friends who are like,
oh yeah, we've had that conversation before. Yeah, like 100%. I was like, I know these are just purely drinking friends. I know I'm not going to call them with my deepest, darkest secrets or when I'm crying about somebody. Like, I think, you know,
learning who you can trust and learning who's going to show up for you. Like when I tell you, there's some days that I call Meg 4 times a day.
No,
and it's literally just like, oh my God, guess what I was just thinking about?
I said to her at one point, I called her my grandmother because my grandmother does this. And I go, Hailey, I love you so much. Write down the next 5 thoughts and then call me.
I know, because it's starting to get to the point where I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot to tell you this.
No, I love it. Don't get me wrong. But it was just so funny because there was one day you sent me your call log the other day and it was literally just like me. Like we just call
it was really Meg and my sister for like 3 days straight. That was the only 2 people I talked to. But I mean, I do love it. I love knowing that like, because I think, again, this time last year, I don't think I could have looked around and said, this is who I could call in an absolute emergency and know that they would pick up any time of the day and be there for me. And now I know the people I can call, girls and guys alike. And like genuinely right now, like I can count the closest people in my life on one hand. And I don't think I've ever been able to say that because I was always like, oh, this is my best friend. This is my best friend. This is my best friend, because I was friends with everybody. Yeah. And like, I've seen it on TikTok and like, I'll say it now, like a girl who's friends with all is not your friend. Yeah. So, and like, I was that girl. And again, I was not a great friend. And I've decided to cut a lot of people off because I looked at who they were in my life. And, you know, some of these people genuinely, like, don't get me wrong, I love to talk shit, but that was all these people wanted to do was talk shit. Yeah. And that's how it would be about people I loved and cared about. Yeah. And that bit me in the ass. Yeah. And so eventually, like, it did get to the point where I had to put my foot down and say, this is my friend. I love them. I'm not listening to this anymore. And I would drop them. Yeah. And I'm so proud of myself for getting rid of those relationships because they do not serve me. They do not serve the person I want to be. And you know,
but I think it takes such a, like, it just shows how much you've grown because like to once sit here on this podcast and admit that, like, there's so many people that would still lie to themselves about that. And like that like shows so much growth on your part. And like I always keep saying that, but I am so proud of you for that. And I think that's why our friendship has lasted and is stronger than it I think ever has been. Like I think we're better friends now than we really ever have been.
Because we met what, 3 years ago?
Yeah. Because I think for the longest time too, our friendship did revolve around boys and the guys we were talking to. And I think then obviously we both got laid off and our lives went in very different directions. And that put a big strain on our friendship too. And I think we both couldn't communicate with each other. Yeah. And, you know, obviously I've cut people, like I think we both for the longest time used the term friend so loosely. And I think people forget, like, just because you're not friends with somebody does not mean you can't be kind to them and like text them and have conversations with them. Like
calling somebody an acquaintance, I used to put
it was such a stigmatized.
There's such a bad connotation to the word acquaintance.
It still does sound very harsh. Like I always like say like, oh, we have mutual friends. Like that's, I think I just like to say it, but it's my own mental thing. Like
I think we need to start seeing acquaintances as it's somebody I know, I just don't know them well. Yeah. And it doesn't mean I don't like them. Or it doesn't mean I don't want to know them better. It just means like our paths haven't crossed to the point that we're closer. Yeah. You know? And it's okay to be like, you know what, we're acquaintances. You know, I think they're a great person. I think they're super sweet, super fun. I just don't know them that well. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I think that word needs to be destigmatized for sure.
For sure. Like friendships are hard enough in your 20s. Like everyone's so busy. And we talked about this in the first time we did this episode, like talking about how everyone is so busy and like adult life is incredibly busy, but that's no excuse to like neglect the people in your life.
Yes, 100%. And it like, my thing is like, I used to be so big on quality time. If you're not spending quality time with me as my friend, you must not like me. And I'm like that in relationships too. I'm like, the more time we spend together, the more you must like me. And now I've learned, especially because I've held on to 3 of my best friends from high school, and my best friend Casey, who's in the Air Force, and she's literally out in Washington State. So like, these are people that like, I am not even in the same time zones as them, but I don't consider them any less of a friend because we don't spend time together. Right. I've learned that friendships don't mean that you have to physically be spending all this time together, always be doing things together. It means sending a quick random text every once in a while, like
just checking in on
you. Like, hey, I remember you talking about this situation like 2 weeks ago. What's going on with it? You know, like, hey, what does your schedule look like to possibly come visit, or you come visit me, or whatever that means, you know? So I think like it's learning that we are adults and we are busy. And, you know, I have another like little group of girlfriends who I feel like I barely see them anymore. One's married, one's, you know, just moved in with her boyfriend, one just got engaged. And I still love all 3 of them so much. Even if we talk a lot less, even if we see each other a lot less, I'm aware that like we're adults. Every time we try to plan something, it's like, okay, can we look 3 months in advance? Because, you know, so I think not taking things so personally as adults too, because it's like, just because I'm not physically with you or can't physically give you that time right now, it doesn't mean I love you any less.
Right. It's like, again, like you're the main character of your life. You're not the main character of everybody else's life. And that I think is also where a lot of friendships go to die. Like it's really hard to adjust when things change. Yes. And I think that's again, when problems arise, and it's how you navigate that with friends. Yeah. Do you think, so for people out there who, you know, if they find themselves losing a lot of their friends for the same fucking issues, and it's like the same thing over and over again, like what would you say to them to get them to admit to themselves like they're the problem?
I think it's hard because I think you have 2 options. If you notice that there's a lot of change in a lot of relationships in your life and you look at them all and they're similar issues, you really have to sit there and look in the mirror and say, am I the problem? And I think, you know, I'm lucky enough that I had you who was willing to come to me and say, you are being the problem. Like you are the problem. Yeah. I think surrounding yourself with people who will hold you accountable and not taking everything as an attack, because I think a year ago, I would have taken that as an attack wholeheartedly. Yeah. And
literally the only reason I said that to you is because you called me crying. You're like, I don't understand. Yeah. And I was like, it's fucking now or never. Yeah. Because I truly was ready to just let our friendship fade. And it broke my heart to do that. And like, I really struggled with that decision. I talked to Hannah a lot about it because I was just like, I don't know what to do here. Yeah. And like, she can tell you it was like agonizing over it.
Yeah.
But I've said this in our first episode on friendship, and I will say it again, like, good friends will tell you what you want to hear. Your best friends will tell you what you need to hear. Yes, like, I think 100%. The true definition of friendship is holding each other accountable. And like, this is why I always say too, don't tell me if you're cheating. Like, his friends, if I would have snitched. If I knew, I would have fucking snitched in a heartbeat, even if I was closer with him, because there is no excuse for that behavior.
Yeah.
Like, don't put me in that position to have to, I've done it once in my life. And even though I hated the boyfriend, I regret it to this day. And I think that's just what is the definition of a good friend, is someone who's going to hold you accountable when you are being a shitty human being.
Yeah. And I mean, I hate to say, the one thing that this man always said to me, which he did not do, but I really do want to do, is he was like, I want to hold the people in my life to the same standards I hold myself to. And I think that is huge. And if I see you doing something that I'm like, I wouldn't personally do that, like, I'm going to let you know, like, hey, maybe we think twice about this. Or like, maybe we rethink our mindset or our actions or things like that. And
well, he is clearly holding them to the same standards.
You know what? In regards to him and his friends, I want to sit there and be mad at his friends, and I can't, because they only know what they're being told.
No, exactly.
So, and again, at the same time, they could sit there, you only know what you're being told.
Yeah.
And again, this goes back to, next time you have a conversation with a man, leave your friends on FaceTime.
I 10 out of 10 recommend it.
FaceTime, because they will.
I think I would like to think I would have gotten rid of my ex sooner. I don't know though, because I still went back to him after all, like, time and time and time again. But that's, again, it was because of how I felt about myself.
It's how you feel about yourself. And I think the people in your life too, because not only did I call my friends, I texted my mom, and I did not give her any context. I just said, he's cheating on me. And she literally goes, WTF? And then my whole family was together, and I FaceTimed them, my siblings, my parents, everything. And I said, yep, this is what happened, literally without even having a conversation with him first. And
also the fuck thing too is, like, he literally saying to you, like, when you're gonna let your family, like, get closer to me.
Oh my God.
Like, that is so wrong.
My parents kept saying, when are you gonna let us like him? And I kept saying, you know what?
And he was saying it too. He was like,
kept saying, when are you gonna let your parents finally like me? Yeah.
You would FaceTime your fucking mom. Like, just insane. Insane behavior.
Yeah.
Absolutely mind-boggling.
Let's also just talking about friends and shitty men. If you are friends with a man and he is behaving this shitty, you put him in his place.
Oh, 1000%.
Let our male friends treat women this way.
No, 1000%. That's why too, like, I hate when girls are like, wouldn't let my man have girlfriends. No, I want my
man must have female friends.
My ex was one of those guys that was like, I don't need friends. Like, I blah, 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 blah. It is the biggest red flag if a guy has no friends. It is 100%. The biggest red flag if somebody has no community in their life. Mm-hmm. Because what does that say about them as a person? Also, like, I want my guy friends. I mean, not my guy friends. I want whoever my man is to have girlfriends, to see what they go through so that he never does it to me. And I want them to hold him accountable.
Yeah. Well, and even like, I look at my best friend, Courtney, and so sorry, Court, I'm talking about you.
We love you, Courtney.
We love you, Courtney. But he was talking about a girl he had gone out with. I think they hooked up, and he ghosted her. And I said, you are sending her a text right now. And you are telling her, hey, I think you're a great person. This is just not something I see going anywhere. And I said, it is that easy. And I promise you, and we've said this before, if you as a man send a girl a text and say, I think you're a great person, I just don't see this being the right relationship for me right now, that leaves the door open for you to come back. So as a man, you're doing yourself a favor by sending that text, because 6 months down the line, you decide to walk your happy ass back into her life. She's going to have that door wide open. You know?
Maybe.
But don't be a dick.
No, literally.
But that's what I tried to explain to him. I was like, no. You are texting her right now. We do not just fucking ghost. That is not happening.
That does not mean, though, text her 6 months down the line to fuck again. No. Don't do that.
No, don't text her to fuck. But if you genuinely did think she was a great human and you want to restart it, by all means, the door is open, because you were a respectful gentleman in the first place.
No, it's literally like,
but it goes back to holding your guy friends accountable and saying like, hey, as a female, don't freaking do that.
And this is what I'm saying too. Like, I will always hold my friends accountable. Like, don't tell me you're cheating. Like, guys need to start doing the same thing. I'm sorry, but like, if like, that drove me nuts about this whole situation is his friend literally just got cheated on and was like heartbroken over getting cheated on.
Yeah.
and this shit happens.
Yeah. And again, I've said, and like, maybe I'm defending him too hard because his best friend is somebody I love. I wholeheartedly love. So maybe I'm defending him too hard, but he only knows what he's being told.
I think he knows
and
more.
I don't want to overstep my boundaries and say anything else.
For sure. I will be the skeptic here, and I think he knew more than what he is. I think he knew enough to know something fishy is going on, and...
Well, just remember in that phone call when I brought up his best friend and he said, do you know what's going on in his life right now? I can't tell him how happy I am. Do you not remember that?
Maybe that should have been our first red flag.
My friend is going through so much. I can't tell him how happy you and I are. That would be horrible. Oh my God, I wish I recorded it.
Oh. Yeah, ladies, 10 out of 10 recommend having a group FaceTime for your friend to break up with a man. It's very therapeutic.
Oh yeah.
Especially if you're speaking the group chat.
I know. Oh, I know. And little did he know, not only was this phone call going on, but there was a full debrief after of the entire conversation.
Because I remember you sat there and you were like, did I do the right thing? Like, am I crazy? And we were all like, shut up. We were like, shut up right now. Do not. I literally, after, because your phone died and we were still on FaceTime, it was me and our two friends. And I was like, I swear to God, guys, if she fucks him, I'm gonna lose it on her.
I kind of wish I did.
No. I literally said, I was like, she's forgiving him right now and she's gonna fuck him. I was like, I'm calling it. Like, I will lose it on her though.
I'm not gonna lie, after the phone hung up and I was like, okay, the girls aren't listening anymore. There was a point he was like, can I just hold you? And I was like, yeah. And I sat there and I let this man, like, I just sat in his arms for like a solid 10 minutes.
I think if we weren't on FaceTime, you would have fucked him.
And well, you guys weren't, and no sex happened.
No, I know, but I'm saying if like none of that happened, I think it would have been.
Yeah. I mean, and then saying goodbye, I let him, there was a lot of forehead kisses in that goodbye.
Stop.
But I think I knew in that moment that was going to be the last time. And I was
Men give forehead kisses after that kind of shit or diabolical.
You know what should have been the first red flag? The first night I slept with this man, it was a Thursday night. That Friday night, so I woke up in his bed Friday morning. That Friday night, I went out with some of my girlfriends. He went out to the same bar. His ex was there. I watched this man kiss his ex on the forehead the morning I woke up in his bed.
I'm sorry, you never told me this.
Oh yeah. We went to LA Jackson. The next night I was with Hailey and Courtney, and he was there with all his friends. I
knew that he ran into the ex.
He not only publicly kissed her on the forehead in front of me, he left with her in front of me. But I was like, you know what? We only hooked up once. That should have been the prime indicator that this man was for the streets. Prime indicator. But at that point, I was like, we literally hooked up once. Why do I give a shit?
Yeah.
So I didn't give a shit. And I literally...
And you were still talking to somebody else. Disney.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, I didn't give a shit because, I mean, one thing about me, I don't consider myself crazy when it comes to like dating and men by any means. Like I said this earlier, there's a reason I'm still friends with like every single guy I've dated.
Yeah, you're not possessive.
No, not at all. Not at all. Because if you like... I don't know. If things don't work
like Kids
out,
Bop is literally friends with the entire friend group.
We love Kids Bop.
We love Kids Bop. He knows who he is.
On and off for a while, and I love him.
We love Kids Bop.
Love him.
Angel human.
DJ man, literally had breakfast with him today. We are great friends.
Yeah.
On and off for a solid 1.5 years.
But again, I think with all of those, and I said this to you too, I was like, I think all of those you knew were doomed to fail. Like, I think this was genuinely the first time you let yourself think there could be a future here. Like every single other like Chicago guy you didn't even fucking like. And I literally said that to you. I was like, did you even like him? Like, do you even like him? It was
300 pounds on an NFL roster.
It was a status thing. And because again, it was how you felt about yourself. And we've been over this, but like, I think this is the first time you truly like let your heart open up to people because Kids Bop was never going to work.
No.
DJ Man was never going to work.
No.
Like great guys, never going to work.
Yeah, no. I mean, I won't deny that one bit. This was the first time that I ever was like, this is my man. And I was so proud. And like, what's crazy is there was like that one random weekend in February, I met 2 different guys and both of them had asked me out. And I told both of them like, hey, I'm seeing somebody. And I had sent the screenshots to him. These men slid in my DMs and they were like, hey, I want to take you out. And it was 2 guys on the same day. And it was the wildest day. And I was like, what is in the air? And I screenshot me sitting there saying to them like, hey, I'm seeing somebody, totally appreciate it though. Screenshot these text messages and sent them to him. And this man is still sitting there like, yeah, my girl's not cheating, but I am. So fun.
We love it. We love it.
Yeah.
So back to friendship, and we'll wrap this up kind of like, obviously it took a lot for you to kind of get to the point where you hit your rock bottom. You lost a lot of friends. Mm-hmm. Are there any of those friendships you think you regret losing that friendship? Like, do you think there's any of those friends you're like, because obviously it takes 2 to tango, like there were situations where other people fucked up too, but like, do you think there's any friendships where now like you want to try and gain those friendships back?
I think there's one.
Yeah.
Literally one. And I think you know exactly who that is. And I think it's because she was somebody who I could literally call at any hour of the day in hysterics and she would answer. Mm-hmm. And like for me to call somebody in hysterics lately is, I guess, more common.
Yeah, therapy has opened the flood. It's like Chandler, or who wasn't not Chandler in Friends, the guy, the dad that Rachel was dating in Friends. You know, it's my comfort show. I will always go there. Like she was dating the dad, and like he cried once, and then suddenly it was like he cried at the drop of the dime. Like that's you lately, and it's.
Prior to going to therapy, I had seen Meg crying twice. Both was over.
No, 3 times,
and it was always over a friend.
No, there was one over a guy.
One over a guy, the other 2 were over friends. So I'm not one to cry over men, let alone cry at all.
I'm the crier in this friendship.
So I cry a lot now. I have a lot of emotions now and learning how to manage those.
But I love that.
But I shed a lot of tears over her. Over that friendship.
And I think that's the only reason I felt finally like I could talk to you and be like,
yeah, because
I saw how devastated you were, and like
I was desperate to know what the fuck happened because I had no idea.
And you were finally at a place where like, I understand I fucked up.
Yeah.
Like I think that was the first time I truly saw you be like, no, yeah, I fucked up. Like there were plenty of situations where I think other parties fucked up, but you also fucked up.
And in the little conversation her and I have had since, like I have made it my goal to wholeheartedly take accountability for everything because that's all I can do in this situation. Like I am wholeheartedly aware of what I did wrong and like where I screwed up. Yeah. And I'm not going to sit there and sugarcoat that or make excuses for that. Like I fucked up.
Yeah.
Did I learn from what I did? 100%. Did I learn from my behavior? Absolutely. Am I working my ass off to change my behavior? Yes.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things where like, I don't know that her and I will ever have the same friendship. And that may be a loss I just have to take and recognize like that was on me. Mm-hmm. But I think that if anything, it's taught me how to be a better friend moving forward. Mm-hmm. And how to just show up for people and give them what I expect in return.
Right.
You know, because you can't expect people to give you a level of friendship that you're not willing to give back.
Right. I think that is the biggest thing that people should take away from this episode is like, even if you
can fuck up, but you need to, number one, recognize that you fucked up, recognize why, and recognize how to prevent that from happening in the future and what you need to work on to be a better human and be a better friend and be receptive to constructive criticism, you know?
Right. And just the fact that too, like, even if you do take accountability, like it doesn't mean people are still going to be there, unfortunately. Like,
yeah. And it doesn't make them bad people.
No.
For not wanting to try again.
Yeah.
While you can see the changes you've made and the progress you've made, if other people don't want to, it's like, it's not on them.
And it's a valid boundary to have.
Valid.
Like, I think the biggest thing with just friendships and growth in general is like, the true test comes when other people put boundaries in place. Cause like I said, like I've talked about this a million times of how you can only control your actions, the boundaries you put in place, and people, and like holding people accountable for those boundaries. Like on the flip side of it, I haven't really talked about this much, is like, it's going to show how much you've grown as a person, the way you react to other people's boundaries that they put up with you, whether you think they're valid or not.
Respecting them.
And like, it's on you to decide if that's a boundary you can live with.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I think that's the thing, is like, she's set her boundaries, and while they make me sad, I don't knock her for them one bit, nor do I want to disrespect those boundaries. And the ball is very much so in her court.
Yeah.
And if she was to come to me and say like, hey, we can finally finish having the conversations we started having, I would be so receptive to it. Again, like I'm so aware of what I did. But, you know, again, I'm aware that the person I was 6 months ago was not going to be open to these conversations. And all she knows is the person I was 6 months ago. She doesn't know the work I've put in or the things I've done to change myself. And I can't fault her for that.
Yeah.
So
very valid. I mean, I think to give you a shred of hope, and you know this too, like one of my best friends in college, we didn't speak for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And she came back into my life, I want to say like a year and a half ago now. And she fully took the same thing you did, took account. She was actually harder on herself than I was ever going to be because I didn't want to be mean. And took accountability. And again, truly our friendship is better than it ever was in college because she was the first to admit like she was a horrible friend in college. Yeah. And everyone in my life, like my college ex included, was always like, I don't understand why you're friends with her. Like, she's so mean to you. And she owned it. And truly, like, I'm so, so thankful. Because we could have gone the rest of our lives without ever speaking again. And she had said to me, she was like, I've been thinking about messaging you for months. I've been missing you for months. Like, she was like, so long I've been missing you, but I was too afraid because I was afraid you were going to hate me. Like, I literally said, I was like, I can't even tell you how validating it is to hear this. And this has happened to me a couple times in my life where friends have fucked me over and then come back. Because that's the one thing about me that I will pride myself on. And, you know, this is always being a good friend. And I will never forget how I know I'm a good friend is there was a girl in college who her and I never really saw eye to eye on things. We never really got along. We were never close, but we were in the same friend group. And she always respected me. And she literally, when I was going through shit with that entire friend group, looked at them all and was like, you take her for granted. She is such a good friend to all of you and you all treat her like shit. She said that to them. And I was like, I still have respect for her for this day. I haven't spoken to her in years. I have so much respect for her because she saw that in me and I will never forget that. So to anyone out there, if you have fucked your friend over and you still are, and you want to apologize and you want to take accountability, but you are too worried they're not going to hear you out, just say it. Because it is so much better to try than spend the rest of your lives thinking you hate each other and maybe you're just actually missing each other.
100%. And don't take, if they don't come back to you and immediately say like, we can fix this, don't take that as a reason to not continue to keep working on yourself.
No,
and
truly.
bettering yourself. Because at the end of the day, like that doesn't say anything about you or who you are as a person, you know?
But what does say something about who they are as a person is how they react to when someone says like, I appreciate you apologizing, but I have no interest in rekindling this friendship.
Yeah. And at that point, you just sit there and say, I have a lot of love for you. And if you ever are interested, the door is open. And that's it.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. Like especially being a woman in today's society is hard enough as is. Like,
yes, don't make it harder on each other.
Don't make it harder on yourself. No. Like, it is so important to have good girlfriends. And another thing too is like, I think, again, you don't need 20 plus, you don't need to be in a group of 20 plus girls. Like,
no, honestly, those are probably the most unhealthy.
Yeah, especially at this stage.
You don't all like each other. I know that. I know damn well. Think about, you know, group chats I've been in with 20 plus people. I know damn well I don't like you all. So
PTSD.
So let's stop pretending.
Yeah. Well, as you approach 30, what is your final message to people about their 20s?
Oh my God.
We've got a little over a month left in our 20s for you.
Your 20s are going to be hard, and they should be hard because I think your 20s are about finding who you are, finding your people, finding what you love in life. I think that's what your 20s are all about, to set you up for your 30s so that you can enjoy the friends that you've made, the career that you have, the life that you've created. I think your 20s are such a shit show so that you can enjoy your 30s. And my 29th birthday, I maybe slept for an hour. I cried all night because I was like, I'm turning 29 and I'm this unhappy. I have 1 year left in my 20s. So I have 1 year left.
I never knew this.
Yeah, it was a really rough night. And I was in Disney, the happiest place on earth. I spent that night anxious, in tears, because I was like, I had just gotten laid off, felt like I was never going to find a job. I didn't feel like I felt like I had a lot of friends, but nobody that I could turn to. I just wasn't where I wanted to be at. And I said, if this is how I'm about to enter my 30s, I'm going to be miserable. And I put a lot of pressure on myself. And I think it's okay to tell people, like, your 20s are literally for screwing your life up. But you need to learn from those lessons. If you're going to screw up, learn. Yeah. That's the whole point of it. If you're not learning, well, that's on you. But yeah, screw up so that you can enjoy your 30s. Because now I'm going to be entering my 30s so happy with my career. I'm so happy in my job now. And I'm pursuing other avenues that make me happy. And I just stopped giving a shit about what people think and what, people say. Like, even living in Nashville, like, I really want to pursue artist management still. And for the longest time, I was like, well, I'm in Nashville, it has to be a country artist. And then I really looked at myself and said, why? Is that going to make me happy? Why not go with somebody in the rock space or, the indie space, like something else that's going to make me happy? Stop doing things because you think that they're going to make other people happy.
And again, how it's going to look to other people.
How it's going to look to other people. Go get the tattoos, go get the piercings, do whatever you want. It's your life. As long as you're happy at the end of the day and you're not hurting anybody else, like, that's all that matters. Yeah. Your 30s are for enjoying who you are. Find who that is in your 20s and enjoy that in your 30s.
Period. Put that on a t-shirt.
You got a lot of time.
I mean, I think I feel younger now. I keep saying this. I keep screaming from the rooftops. I feel younger at 26 than I did at 23.
Oh, 100%.
I think I act younger in a weird way. Like, I definitely don't party as much. I don't drink as much. And, but I feel younger because I'm just like, let's just have fun.
Yeah, it's crazy because I was listening to that Miley Cyrus song, Used to Be Young, the other day. And I remember when that song first came out, and I think I was like, it was a few years ago. So I was like still mid to late 20s. And I was like, wow, I maybe shouldn't be hopping on flights for a guy I've never met before, or, maybe I shouldn't be doing a 24-hour bender at this late age.
Well, because it's crazy.
I never understood that mindset, and I listened to it the other day, and I'm like, wow, I'm boring as all hell now. I'm not, meeting random men on Broadway and booking flights for them anymore, or, finding a guy on Raya and saying, I'll come visit you for your season opener.
I mean, because when we met, you were 26, right? Or 27. We met in 2020, like early 2022. So that's 3 years ago. So
I was 26.
You're 26, turning 27.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So I'm the same age now that I was
when you met me. And look at how much further you are.
Yeah, but I think sometimes I wish I could be a little more carefree, but that's my own.
Yes.
We really are opposite sides of the coin of that.
Yes. I wholeheartedly think that
I've definitely loosened up since you've met me.
Should loosen up, and you should be careful. Be careful.
Loosen up. Don't be cutting that.
I think
I'm not slut shaming, I promise.
No, I never wanted to look back at my 20s and be like, wow, I wish I did more. Wow, I wish I had more experiences. Wow, I wish I said yes to more things. And I don't think I want to keep saying, like, I don't want to say no to things in my 30s. I don't want to be like, well, I'm 30 now. So, like, no, I can't be adventurous, and no, I can't do these things. But I think maybe be a little more careful, maybe a little more calculated, maybe a little less fuck it.
It's a balance.
It is a balance, and it's about finding that balance. But I mean, live your life, say yes to things. If you think it's going to be a good story, I got matching tattoos on a first date. I
do remember that.
I met a man from Canada on Broadway and went to Canada the next week. If you think it's going to be a good story and you're not going to die from it, say yes. That's my advice. Is it sound? Probably not.
This is why she's in therapy.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Well, I think that's a good place to leave it. Yeah. Is, we talked about friendship, our 20s, fuck ass men,
rat bastards,
literal rat bastards.
Shout out Shannon.
Balding rat bastards.
Balding rat bastards. If you're gonna be a dick, at least be a dick with hair.
Oh goodness. Well, I don't know how to end this one.
We're going to go get Chili's now.
Yeah, I think we're going to go get some dessert.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, brother.
That's where we're going to leave it. We're going to go to Chili's. We're going to get...
Sponsor us.
Fucking chocolate lava cake. And
Diet Cokes.
Well, I don't drink Diet Coke. Okay. You can have my Diet Coke. I don't drink Diet Coke. But all that being said, let me know if we shouldn't go another couple of years without Hailey coming back on the podcast. Maybe we revisit this in 6 months and see how Rat Bastard is doing and if they've spoken and if he's apologized.
In 6 months, he's going to have no hair. Maybe no friends, who knows?
Oh, God. Well, that's all for this episode of Not the Girl Next Door. I'm your host, Meg Reynolds. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening. Please subscribe on YouTube and all of our platforms. You can find the podcast at Not the Girl Next Door, at Not the Girl Next Door podcast on Instagram. And I will see you guys next week for another episode.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, brother.